What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to day 13 of OnShape. Specifically today, what we're looking at is how to use mirror, and then also in there, and be really important, is to look at when we change features, how do we change features where they become different parts, or how they become the same part, just an extension of that feature. All right, so I think we're ready to get rolling. Let's go ahead and create a new part studio. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch on this front face right here. Right click, hit view normal to. Now this, I'm just going to build an L block, which is a pretty standard beginner's piece when you're making 3D environments, because it makes students start to think about geometry that is more than just a square or rectangles kind of two upon each other, and learning how to extrude. Now the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty this up a little bit. I'm going to do parallel, or perpendicular, sorry, and go ahead and make that even. And let's do 2.5. Dimension these pieces. Let's do 1.5. Let's make that height of 3 and 1. So if you notice, I was doing those dimensions really quickly, and how to do that, if you've kind of missed or forgotten already, all I'm doing is hitting D on the keyboard, and that allows me to select a dimension. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit finish there, rotate around. I don't need my origin planes anymore, so I'm going to hit do not show any of those, because I'm just going to be going from here. And let's go ahead and extrude. So Shift E, or you can click extrude up here. We're going to extrude this shape back. And let's do a depth of, let's do 2 inches. Okay. We're looking good so far. All right. Now, to show that mirror will do all the features, I'm also going to throw a hole in on this top side. So I'm going to click on sketch, this top side, right click, hit view normal to, and I'm going to do a circle. Now I'm going to hit D on my keyboard for dimension. I want the diameter of that circle to be 1 inch, and I want the distance between the center point and the outside edge. Let's make that a 1/4 inch. And then the distance between this center point and this outside edge to be 1 inch. That way it's just centered up and it looks okay. Alrighty. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and extrude. So click on extrude, that circle. And here's where I'm going to start to actually use some new vocabulary in what we're doing. So when you do an extrusion, what we haven't talked about yet is new, add, remove, intersect. I'm going to show that right here, where if we add, it's going to take this piece, this part right here, and add a 3D component to it. It's going to still be one part, but it's going to be adding that piece to it. If I click this as new, what we notice is that that 3D geometry is still going to be there, but it's now 2 separate parts. So when you start thinking about assemblies down the line, is this one piece, or is this 2 separate pieces, but they sit on each other? So I'm going to do this as a remove instead. So you notice it says remove. It automatically flipped the direction, and I can remove all the way through. Okay. Intersect's a little bit of an interesting one. It's where these 2 3D shapes intersect. That is what we want to happen. So it actually would just make a cylinder for me. There are some rare instances where you'd use intersect. It's probably going to be new, add, or remove for most applications. So we did remove. We're looking okay. Now, the other part we're going to talk about in this video is mirror. Mirror is pretty interesting because it allows us to, if we have something that has left hand, right hand of an environment, you can mirror it and repeat that geometry just super quickly. So if you've got brackets on one side made, you can already just mirror it and have brackets automatically mirrored to the other side of that item. So what we got is that this L bracket so far, or L-shaped block. I'm going to click on mirror, And we have two things we need to select. We need to select where is it going to be mirrored about, or what are we going to mirror? We're going to mirror this whole thing. So it says part 1. And the mirror plane is going to be, so I'm going to click on mirror plane, click on this back edge, and you notice it gives us the same kind of environment. We have new, add, remove, intersect. Intersect's going to be a problem because there's no intersections. We can do remove, but you can't remove nothing. We can do add, which would take this, and you notice down here on the bottom left, it's still considered one part. So if I hit the green check mark right here, it is now extended that one part and mirrored it, and it's still one piece. However, if I go right click and edit this mirror and make it a new, what we notice is that that part is now we have two separate parts here. We got part 1, part 2. And here's something I found really interesting. If I edit part 1, so let's edit the appearance of part 1, it will change part 2. However, since part 2 is down the line, if you edit part 2, it will not edit part 1. And that's how the timeline of the scope of sequence of things talk to each other. It's because part 1 was made and part 2 was made off of part 1. So anything we change to part 1 will be changed to part 2. So if we actually go ahead and change this extrusion and we flip it and we make it an add, it should go ahead and change that also on the other side. Now, one thing I haven't tried, but let's try this out. If on that extrusion, instead of an add, let's make this a new. And you notice that it did not take that cylinder over, is because now I have 3 parts here. And that mirror, if I wanted to also bring that part over, we can right click, edit, entities to mirror would also be that part as well. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. There's a little bit of the ins and outs of mirror, how to add, remove, intersect, in new, and talking about parts here. Later on down scope, I really want you to practice as well, because we're going to do assemblies, and parts become a huge role to play when you're looking at assemblies and what they do. All right, guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to throw them down in the comment section. These videos have been tons of fun and most likely will be used in my classroom for this distance learning. So stick tight, and we'll see what cool stuff we can do here in the future. Until then, I'll catch you on the next video. See ya.